to this week's Scots Sports Show. I am your host, Tyler Trumbauer. As we continue into this week's show, as we've done in the last few episodes, we will continue with our Boro football talk. I'm joined once again by the dynamic duo that we talk Boro football with here on the show. To my immediate right, we have the play-by-play voice of Boro football, Mike Fenner, and to the far side of the stage, we have head Edinboro football coach Scott Browning. Coach, once again, another week, another episode, another loss to talk about. This one a little bit tougher to take, 56-12. East Stroudsburg, a long bus ride home after that game, Coach. It didn't seem like things were going your way from the beginning. Just what do you kind of make of that tough contest Saturday afternoon?
You know, I'd like to know myself. I thought we did a great job preparing our football team and talking with the players afterwards. They gave us nothing on the offensive side or the defensive side or even special teams that we had not prepared for. I just thought we were more focused than we had been all year. And, just everything started on a bad start as soon as, we got the turnover. We had the ball on the 10-yard line, had an opportunity to put points on the board, and first play we dropped the tall sweep, and everything went sour from that point on.
Rightfully so, Coach. Everything just kind of went down. That was kind of a bad omen for what was to come that afternoon. Offensively for you guys, just struggling to get points, but were the guys taking themselves mentally out of it? Because despite you guys not scoring any points in the first quarter, no opponents of ESU had scored any points in the first quarter of the season, and they both left with wins. So did you kind of still encourage the guys to keep their head in despite being down, what was that, nearly 3 scores by the end of the first quarter?
Yeah, I felt even when it was 21-0, we moved the ball down the field. And I thought had we gotten on the board there, even if it had been 21-3, I thought we had an opportunity to come back. We put together a long drive and kept our defense off the field, and I thought they had an opportunity to make some good adjustments. And but I think when we came away with no points, when we threw the interception down the end zone, I just think it just once again it took the air out of our bubble, and it was just once again now we're fighting another uphill battle.
Coach, going back to the first offensive play with the fumble, do you think that was sort of a psychological blow to the offense and kind of not getting that start that they wanted to despite the great field position?
Honestly, I think it was a psychological blow to our whole football team. I just think we were shocked. I think right now we've got a bunch of guys maybe waiting for someone else to make a play. And it's just time for everyone to step up and do their job and make plays. And, we had an opportunity to do a good thing with that tall sweep, but when you drop the football, it just kind of sours everything.
Someone that made a lot of plays Saturday afternoon, ESU quarterback Matt Soltesz. Didn't have the greatest of starts to this season after missing the last few games of 2014 with an injury, but he bounced back quite all right Saturday, nearly 500 yards passing, 5 touchdowns through the air. He seemed methodical, hitting on every cylinder Saturday afternoon. Did you feel like the defense was just unable to stop him on any account?
Yeah, I really did. And, he's a great quarterback. He's probably one of the best quarterbacks we'll face all year. I think that, talking to their staff after the game, the week prior they had played Slippery Rock. It was a night game. It was a little bit chilly. It was wet. And he's got that bum knee right now. And he really struggled with that, and they struggled. Mm-hmm. And they had some other players that were injured as well the previous week. But, talking with the coaches, they said that, it could have been a better setting with the temperature in the 80s and everything playing at home. And it just really gave him an opportunity to come back. Now, the word is he did not practice all week. He rested the knee all week, and he looked fresh. And we knew going in, he's got a tremendous arm. He's extremely intelligent. And if you don't get to him, that creates problems for you. And we didn't come close to getting to him on Saturday.
Coach, moving forward from a game like this, when you had so many MAs and errors and things like that, how do you try and balance maybe flushing this game out of the system, but also not forgetting about those MAs and trying to improve on that going into a new week?
I think as a staff, you try to look at it and you ask yourself, are you doing too much? And, maybe we are. We are a very young football team. Jake Sisson into his 4th start, and we've got a bunch of young people around Jake. And at this point in time, you can't use that as an excuse, but it's still maybe we're doing a little bit too much on both sides of the football, and we need to back off a little bit. And that's the only answer I can come up with now. As far as players are concerned, I think they have to be accountable. They have to be responsible for what they do on the field, and it's time for them to mature and step up and do what they're asked to do.
Their first chance to step up, Coach, will be this Saturday. California University of Pennsylvania Vulcans come on into Scots Harrison Stadium. Divisional play opens up, which now actually counts for the conference record. Coming into this week, what is the mindset? I know after the game you told Mike, we're going to have to reevaluate everything we do. What is the coaching staff saying right now going into this week now that these games mean even more than the first three?
Well, I think, first of all, and I think the team knows it, that the first three games, you use those as kind of preseason games. And it's time now. Now everything, like you say, it counts. And we're 0-0. Hopefully we've had great learning experiences the first 3 weeks. Hopefully we've grown. Hopefully we've gotten better in some areas, some things that we can build on. The tough thing is Cal's probably the best team that we're going to play up to this point. And, they're very athletic. They're physical. They're experienced. Here again, they've got a senior quarterback. And I think that's one thing that jumps out to me when you look at our schedule. Shippensburg had senior quarterback, a veteran quarterback. East Stroud, the veteran quarterback. Cal, the veteran quarterback. And you look at any league, he who has the guy, the trigger man, normally is the guy that ends up on top. And there's some things we have to overcome, but our guys are preparing hard. We had a really good practice yesterday. We'll have great practices throughout the week, and we'll be ready to play.
Talking about the guys under center for the team, your guy under center, Jake Sisson, for the second straight week has to leave the game early due to an injury. What is his status right now, and how confident are you still going with Jake moving forward as the starting quarterback for this team?
We're confident with Jake, and we feel like we can win with Jake. In the same breath, we're going to start repping Jack Woolman, the true freshman, and I think we need to make sure we have a plan. Like you said, the last 2 weeks we've lost Jake, so we need to make sure we've got ourselves covered and we've got a guy to come in there and lead the team.
Speaking to the offensive side of the ball and as a team overall, you obviously want to get off to a good start every week, but with this Cal team, they've in their first 3 games outscored opponents 75-22 in the first 2 quarters. How important is that good start, especially this Saturday?
It's extremely important. It's very important that we play well offensively. We control the ball a little bit. We move the football. We keep our defense off the field. In the same breath, it's important that our defense comes up with some shutdowns and gets the ball back for us. But it's important that we get off to a great start.
This Saturday, Scots Harrison Stadium, back home. What is the message to the team? Because right now it's 0-3, but if you get another loss, then it's 0-4, and then you got to go on the road to an IUP team who's tops in Division II in rushing right now, and then you're going to come back home. Come back home for homecoming. Clarion off to a good start this year too. So it doesn't get any easier for this.
Oh,
so
no.
what is your message to the guys to try to keep them in high spirits despite the gauntlet ahead?
Our message is one game at a time. Right now we're 0-0 in the West, and it's important that we continue to get better. We get focused. We played better than we played last week, but we're 0-0, one game at a time. Right now, the only thing we're thinking about is Cal.
And Cal is the team it's going to be Saturday afternoon at Scots Harrison Stadium. That's a noon kickoff for Edinboro and Cal U. You can hear that on 88.9 Fighting Scots Radio with Mike Fenner and myself, or watch it on ETV online, edinboro.tv, all that good stuff. Thanks, Coach. We appreciate it. Good luck on Saturday. When we return, we will continue Boro football talk with Jabob Potts on the other side. Stay tuned. And we return on the Scott Sports Show as we continue our Boro football talk. Mike Fenner, to my right, continues with me on the far side. We are now joined by fifth-year senior Jabob Potts here on the Scott Sports Show. Jabob, thanks for joining us. We just talked with Coach Browning in the previous segment, now getting the player perspective. Obviously this season's rough on anybody involved with the team. 0-3 is not the way anyone envisioned for it to start. As a player, how do you take, seeing a goose egg in the win column 3 weeks into the season?
Well, it's definitely hard. We're definitely struggling right now as a team. We expected to be either 2-1, 3-0, at least have one win on the board right now. And the facts are that we don't. We're 0-3 right now, but we're a real tough team. We're a real close team. We had a big team meeting yesterday. We talked about a lot of things, and we're gonna keep going forward. Because we think that we're a good team. We know that we can do better than what we have been doing. And I think if we just keep going forward, and now that we're getting into our region play, we'll do a lot better than we have been.
One quick note is, you were part of that team last year too that was off to a rough start, tying for the worst start in program history. Do you see any differences between that squad and this squad? Is there more motivation with this squad? Do you feel there's a higher ceiling with this team, or kind of comparing 2014 to 2015? What do you see between the two teams?
Well, I think this year we have a lot more leadership. There's a lot more leadership with the younger guys that are stepping up now, from Josh Kibbe, Jimmy Wilson, and then with our 6 seniors that we have, I think we have a really great leadership group. I'm not saying that last year we didn't have anybody that weren't stepping up to be leaders, but I don't think we had such a close bonding of the leadership. Last year we had like Cody Harris, we had Greg Cunningham, people like that, but this year I think there's a lot more, and I think that it's through every level that we have leadership, even with the freshmen and then with the sophomores and juniors like that. And with Jake Sisson also stepping up as being a big leader now, I think we'll be all right.
Jake, 2 of the big pieces on the offensive line that have been big changes from last year's team to this year's team. A guy playing right beside you at the right guard, Tavius Bridges, in the starting lineup, a transfer from Pikeville College. And then your offensive line coach in Jack Corey. How have those guys done things differently, and how has it made it sort of a different offensive line going into this season?
Well, having Tavius there is a big change in what we have had. I think, we were always really a tough group up front, but now with Tavius there, I think he brings a little bit more toughness than what we used to have playing in those guard spots. It also allowed us to have our 5 best linemen on the field with Tavius there. He's just a different guy than what we've had before, and it's great having him here. And with Jack Corey back as an offensive line coach, it's really nice to have like that player connection, because he used to be here, and he played the game. He played through struggling times too, so he knows what we're going through. And he's just a great guy to have on the sidelines when we come off the field. And we have any questions, he knows what's going on. He knows, what to change up front like that. Last year we really didn't have an offensive line coach. Well, we had Coach Browning, but he's a head coach, so he's involved in everything. So it's really hard for him to come back to different things like that. But having him as an actual offensive line coach or tight end coach, we have a lot of advice to go to during games.
Yeah, speaking of that offensive line, a unit you're very, very familiar with. It's got to be daunting on you guys to just see the lack of a running game week in and week out. I think maybe Coach Browning was inclined to get an offensive line coach after seeing, averaging 63 yards or whatever a game a year ago, and now this year you eclipsed 100 yards this past Saturday, but that was, really in the second half when the score was as lopsided as it was. How personal does you and does the offensive line take it when you don't see, Corey Bell or Jamal Evillard rushing for 100 yards and barely getting there as a team too?
I think we take it real hard. We improve every day. We're improving every week, obviously. We're a close group. We talk to each other. We bounce off ideas to each other and things like that. We had a rough go in the first couple weeks, and we finally bounced back last week. Of course, it doesn't really show on the scoreboard. But I think if we keep improving every week with the different personnel changes, different schemes that we have going against the different teams, I think we'll keep doing real well as long as we keep coming together as a team.
Jake, you've now started 34 games, including 30 in a row, which is good for third in the PSAC. So you've seen quite a bit of football here at Edinboro. How do you try to lead, not only within the offensive line, but on this team as one of the most experienced players on this unit?
I try to keep it positive. We had some younger guys last year. I actually found myself kind of getting a little angry with them. But I remembered, when my first couple of years, we had a couple of guys that started quite a number of games with Sean Ellenberger and Ryan Wilson, and they really, they were hard on me, and but they took me under their wing, and I played right between them too, so I got a lot of advice between the two of them. That's what I'm trying to do now. But we're a more experienced group than we were last year. We have a number of guys that returned, so I don't really have to be in their face or trying to get them going, because they know what to expect. They know what's coming now. They're more more mature up front. They're stronger, more knowledgeable, and things like that. So really, I think as a whole line, we're really just leaders, like for our position, or leaders and for the rest of the offense now, because we're more of the older guys and things like that. So I don't really see myself, you know, having to do that really hard leadership role. But I think we're all just doing our own kind of leadership role.
Yeah, being with the program for 5 years, Jake, you've kind of seen it all in Boro football, the ups, the downs, in the middle. You know, what's that like to be in the roller coaster, seeing the positives, seeing the negatives? You know, kind of look back at your Edinboro career and talk about, you know, what you've kind of garnered from being, you know, near the bottom of the Western Division, at the top, wins, losses, everything in between.
Well, definitely one thing that I wish that it was more positive than negative. But, you know, as different seasons go on and how we have different players each year, you kind of have to expect that it's going to be different from year to year. I think, you know, there's a lot of seasons there where I think we quit there at the end because we're losing, you know, might as well just give up. I'm not going to say everybody did that, but a lot of people have. But I think with this year, I think it's a lot different than we have been going on. This is just like the closest team I've ever been on. You know, I don't think anybody's going to try quitting on each other. I think we all respect each other, respect our games and things like that. But it's just, you know, it's just tough right now because we're struggling again. But I think if we keep together, we'll bounce back and have a good year.
We heard you were recently selected as an All-Star to the 2016 Dream Bowl. Talk about that a little bit, and when did you find out, and what really is it all about?
Well, it was actually, you know, it's pretty crazy. You know, I had they started like following me on social media and things like that, and they were asking for like highlight films and things like that, and I didn't really know what to expect, but I wasn't really expecting it. And then I got an invite just a couple of weeks ago about it. It's going to be in Virginia. It's going to be in January, so hopefully it's a little warmer.
Better than the Boro in January.
Yeah, a little bit. But you know, I'm pretty excited. You know, I've always wanted, you know, to play at a different level after college. I was going to take an opportunity if it came arising. It looks like I have somewhat of an opportunity now. You know, it's just going to be pretty cool because they're inviting, you know, my family down. They can come watch me. You know, it might be one last time or maybe just the beginning of something new. So it's definitely pretty exciting.
That's all. Would you say it's a dream?
It's a dream.
It's a dream to be in the Dream Bowl. And another thing Jake's dreaming of is getting a win. That can happen this Saturday against the California University of Pennsylvania Vulcans. That's a noon kickoff, as I said before, on 88.9 Fighting Scats Radio on ETV. Jake and the rest of the Fighting Scats will be looking for their first win of 2015. Jake, appreciate the time today, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're going to hit another commercial break, and when we come back, we will move to the cross-country team and talk with Rick Hammer and Ida Narbuvoll. Welcome back to the Scott Sports Show. Now we move to the men's and women's cross-country teams, as I'm now joined by, to my immediate right, by a member of the women's cross-country team, Ida Narbuvoll, and to the far side, I have head cross-country coach here at Edinboro, Rick Hammer. Ida, obviously, thanks for joining the Scott Sports Show again. This week, you have the honor of being the Edinboro Scot of the Week, the female award winner of that one. So congratulations, and obviously you get that for your 7th place finish at the Spartan Invitational at Michigan State. Now that's another race under your belt. I know you're still getting acclimated to everything, so how do you feel you did at Michigan State?
Yeah, I'm happy with the race. It wasn't a golf course, so I expected it to be, you know, a easy course. It was tougher than I thought. And also a K longer than what we ran here, the Doug Watts distance gala. So it was a tough day, but also a good day for me.
You're lucky I wasn't playing the course at the time. Coach, continuing along, you know, heading out to Michigan State, how do you feel Ida did and the rest of the women's team, knowing that you said that's a very top-notch, talent-wise event? So how do you feel the ladies did at Michigan State?
You know, I think they really showed up and performed well. Speaking first about Ida as our top individual, you know, she was 7th overall. A couple girls that beat her. The girl that won the entire race is the 3rd best returner in all of Division I. A girl that was only 13 seconds ahead of her won 2 national titles in outdoor track at the Division II level for Hillsdale. And she was mixing it up. She beat all comers from Grand Valley State, which is a defending national champion on the women's side. So very impressed with her efforts. running up front. And what's encouraging to me as the coach is, this isn't just an individual event. This is a team event. We had some ladies that ran really well behind her. Emma Sullivan is one of our leaders on the team and has been for a while. She beat some girls that won All-America honors at the Division II level last year. Anna Hosel was right there mixing it up with the girls from Grand Valley State and Hillsdale. And 2 freshmen developing really well, 3 actually, in Abby Lang, Cassie Whitmoyer, and our other Abby. We have a couple different Abbies on the team. Abby Peters, just really rounding out our top 6. I think this is a group to watch out for as we head into the meets that really matter towards the end of the year.
Ida, coach is very high on the women's team right now. How do you feel about it now that you're getting to gel more with the ladies? Because I know before you had a limited time with them, but now that you got to practice more, race more with them, how do you feel about the team?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Rick that it's a great team and everybody works very hard. And this morning we had a tempo run and everybody did great. They really fought through the workout, and that's inspiring to see.
Right,
how much effort everybody puts into it.
Exactly. Now that the season's about to get into full swing, still keeping that momentum even in practices. Coach, going over to the men's side, a little short-handed going into Michigan State. What is the status of the men's team right now? Obviously not the best finish you would have liked, with Elliott getting the top, fighting Scott to cross the finish line 45th. So what is going on with the men's team currently?
Well, every team goes through their ups and downs, and as high as the women's team is right now, our men are struggling just a little bit. We've got a younger group. They still believe in each other. They believe in the system, which is good. However, we were a little bit banged up. You mentioned we were a little shorthanded. We ran our top 2 runners in both Elliott and Corey, and then we probably sat 4 of our top 7 heading into this meet, which is good, I think. We had just some minor injuries that we want to make sure they don't become major issues. We want to make sure that those guys are healthy for the meets that really matter, and I think a lot more of them will be on the course in a couple weeks at Louisville. So, and also, sometimes when you're a coach, you make some mistakes in training, and that translates into poor racing. I think we kind of overdid it the week leading up to Michigan State, and inadvertently, when 1 or 2 guys run bad, you can point the finger at those 1 or 2 guys and say, hey, you didn't recover the way you were supposed to. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. But I got to own it. When the whole team doesn't run well, that's on me. I did too much with them. We'll make the necessary adjustments and be back at it for the meets that really matter.
Now, this is just the second event of the season, so how much stock do you put into, not having a good race this week, or kind of being at a down point in the season? Would you rather have that? You'd obviously rather have that now than later. But I mean, how much worries do you have about being not with everybody you want and not having the best performance?
Running is one of those sports where a lot of times the athletes rely on what I have done lately. And so in that sense, we've got some guys that are just a little bit nervous as they haven't gone out and done a workout that they're very happy with, or a race that they're very pleased with in the last, the recent history. However, it's a sport where you've got to have just tremendous faith in yourself and in your teammates and in the training that you've done. And those guys are going to come back strong. I'm not concerned. We have yet to put our full top 7 on the starting line at the same point. The last time we had this problem, it was my first year here, and those guys went on to finish 9th in the nation once we finally got everybody healthy and into the mix. So this is a younger group. They're not as experienced as that class I had 2 years ago that was a bunch of 5th-year seniors and had kind of been through it before. They had the confidence that they would come back. I hope that this group relies on history and the fact that we're doing the same kind of work now that we were doing then. And they believe when they don't see it every day that we will be back for conference, regionals, and nationals when it's time.
Ida, going back to you and transitioning back to the women's team, you've got 2 races down, so now you're gonna have another week off. Then you're heading to the Greater Louisville Classic, and you're just getting one step closer and closer to the big 3 that Coach always talks about. So individually and as a team, what are you going to be doing training-wise in these upcoming days to get yourself ready? Not overdo it like Coach is trying to shy away from, but get yourself ready.
Since it's still many weeks until nationals where it really matters. So we're still doing a lot of. We have a high mileage. So it's still a lot of running, and also a lot of tough training, because you have to wait a little longer before you start running the shorter runs and the low mileages. But of course it's important to be in decent shape also in races like Louisville, but still it's not the most important. So yeah,
So you're not
I
going
think I'm
all
gonna
out for it yet.
yeah I'm gonna continue training the same as I've been doing the last weeks, I think.
Gotcha, Coach. Now, for the women's team, what is your message to them? Because obviously, the conference thought highly of them, both the men and the women's team. So now the women's team, they've had a great showing. Does that even give you more motivation? And what are you kind of telling them now that, hey, Ida's doing it, Emma's doing it, Abby 1 and 2 are doing it. Like, you got ladies that are maybe overperforming what you kind of expected, especially this early in the season.
Yeah, we're running really well right now, and that's really exciting because, as Ida mentioned, there are certain things you do in training at certain times of the year to make sure that you're on for the meets that really matter. It's our qualifying system is very fortunate where the regular season doesn't count for a whole lot during cross country, and it really matters that we show up on regionals in terms of going to nationals, and obviously placing well in the conference meet is an important thing as well. So I mean, we really haven't started to really back down for any of those meets. We haven't done a lot of quality faster work. I would characterize our training right now as still being in the base phase, is still doing a lot more long runs, tempo runs, things like that give you the strength necessary to take it to the next level as we start to cut back. So I'm encouraged by how well they're running, considering what they're doing, as we really haven't tried to go out and run fast yet, I guess I would say, as a team. There has not been that intentional motivation to really throw down a time. It's, hey, let's see what we can do based upon the work that we've done. And so far, all indicators are very, very good.
Right.
So.
Not even close to the peak yet, and they're already performing very, very well as we get closer and closer to those big three, Coach and Ida. So thanks for joining me, and good luck, in your upcoming meets and getting closer and closer to conference, regionals, and nationals. You just want it here already, right? I mean, let's be honest.
For the women, it'd be great if it showed up tomorrow, because they are definitely on a good path and being ready for the men. We're pretty happy it comes when it comes, because we could use these next 5 or 6 weeks or so to get ourselves back into good health and be ready to put our best foot forward on those days.
And they have that time, certainly. So congratulations again on Female Sky of the Week. Coach, thanks for joining us as well. We're going to hit another break here on the show. When we come back, we'll touch base with the Edinboro women's volleyball team, as I'll be joined by a pair of players. Can you make like 6 minutes? Can we do that?
Okay.
All right, it's not that bad. Welcome back to the Scots Sports Show. As we continue on, we're going to talk Boro women's volleyball now, as they're still off to a hot start, and week after week we have to touch on their excellence thus far on the Scots Sports Show. To do that this week, I'm joined by a pair of Boro volleyball players. To my immediate right, Latoya Hutchinson, and to the far side of the stage, we have Megan Screptock. Ladies, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Latoya, starting off with you, a 9-1 start to this season. How pleased are you to have that record so far this season?
We're pretty pleased, actually. We have like the best record in the PSAC so far, so we're pretty happy, and yeah, can't really get better than that.
Right, just, one loss is not something you can really complain about.
Yeah.
Megan, thus far, did you feel that this type of start was possible? A lot of talent on this team. You lost a few seniors, but did you feel having such a 9-1 record in your first 10 matches would be possible coming into this season?
I actually didn't think that it was going to start off this way because of how young of a team we have, and we're experienced, but there's 7 incoming freshmen this year, and we take up a lot of the team, and there's only 4 seniors, so I just think I was surprised by the outcome, but I'm really pleased with the way things are going so far.
Right, and Coach has said the same thing too. She obviously, has little parts that she still wants to work on and such. But Latoya, from your aspect, what do you feel is maybe a positive of the team and something that you ladies still need to work on, knowing that the tough conference schedule is coming up?
I think we have meshed well together for there being so many new incoming people and transfers, but we really need to work on just our communication and just getting together and just finishing off what we start, because we're good at starting, but sometimes we have a hard time finishing.
Right. Exactly. Megan, I'm going to you now. Latoya mentioned it, a lot of the transfers, one of them Victoria, coming from Charleston, West Virginia, a very talented player, has done an amazing job so far in these 10 matches. What does she bring to the program that maybe was missing last year that she can now excel in for Edinboro?
Victoria sets up like a really good block, and she brings energy to the court. So I think that like when she gets a couple points, everybody like feeds off of her. So she helps with that, and she is like doing great in the front row, and she's really meshing with Squid really well. So I think that Victoria is a good aspect to the team.
Right. Megan, continuing with you, the offense coach has said that they're trying a new offense this year. So far, so good, I guess. Nine wins thus far. How do you feel about it? Do you feel comfortable with what's happening out on the court, and do you feel the rest of the team is adapting to it well too?
At first, I was nervous. The first couple scrimmages, like I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how I was gonna like react with our setter. But as the season has gone on, like I fit in well. I feel like I fit in well with the team, and I mesh well with them, so it's really easy to get along with them on the court and off the court, so it makes it a lot easier that we're like close friends as a team too.
Latoya, I gotta ask you, how hard is it to be on the road for this long? I mean, your season is almost a month old, yet to play a match in Macomb Fieldhouse. Still gonna have another week or so until that, I believe. Yeah. Next week is gonna be your first one, Damon College of New York coming on in, so you still have a few more matches till then. Does that phase you or the team at all, or do you just don't care where you're playing? Just as long as there's a net and a volleyball, you're set to go?
Pretty much. I mean, it does suck that we aren't home and like can't have our fans watching us, but it also sets us up to like get really well so that when we do get here, it's like a show for everyone else, I guess.
Right, and then when you're finally getting home, Megan, that's going to be the PSAC conference schedule. I mean, and it's tough. Last year, you ladies were on the outside looking in the postseason from the Western Division, when if you were in the Eastern Division, you would have been like the second seed. That's how tough the West is. How difficult is that for maybe someone that doesn't quite understand that night in and night out, you need to bring maybe not even just your A game, your A+ game against some of these teams?
It is really difficult just because the fact that I'm like new this year, I don't really know how the teams are and like what we are in comparison to them. So I don't really know much of the teams in our conference to begin with and the way they perform or the players compared to like the upperclassmen that like know who's on the team and the way they play and stuff. So it's difficult, but I think with the team we have this year, we're going to do really well. Latoya,
for you, one thing that you kind of excel at and maybe get the fans going is you're known to have a ferocious, attack every now and then.
Yeah.
What kind of goes through your mind when you're doing that out on the court? I mean, obviously it gets the fans going. John, the PA guy, livens it up a little bit too.
Yeah.
But for you, when you're skying up there for those attacks, what's kind of going through your mind?
I mean, most of the time I'm just like, I need to get this kill, need to bring like the energy so that because I feed off to a lot of people, so I just want to keep that going. That's pretty much, I just need to get the kill and not make an error.
Right, and Megan, last one for you. Obviously, being the newbie this year, if you will, coming on in. What were your expectations coming in? What are your thoughts now? Playing for Edinboro and then playing with some very talented players on the court like Latoya and Sydney and Victoria and others.
I'm really excited, and I'm like really like blessed to get the opportunity to play with them. Like I did not expect any of this at all, but I worked hard and like feel like I earned my way to get to where I am, and I really enjoy playing with all of them. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, and it's a heck of a lot more fun when you're winning matches, right, ladies?
Yes.
All right, so keep that going, and appreciate the time today, and good luck, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Boro volleyball continuing on into some more crossover action with their Eastern Division foes this weekend, and then finally getting to Macomb Fieldhouse to finish up this month. To finish up the Scott Sports Show today, we're going to hit our last commercial break, come back, highlight the athletes of the week, take a look at the upcoming schedule, and send it on home. Don't go anywhere. Congratulations to Alex Caratelli and Ida Narbuvoll for being named this week's Male and Female Scots of the Week. Caratelli scored the lone receiving touchdown for the Fighting Scots in Saturday's 56-12 loss to ESU. He gained about 50 yards in the air that afternoon. And Eden Narbuvoll, who we talked to earlier with head coach Rick Hammer, finished 7th at the Spartan Invitational at Michigan State this past Friday. She was the 3rd Division II finisher in the event, so congratulations to both of them for their impressive accolades this past week on the fields and the course. Now let's take a look ahead at what is upcoming for Edinboro's student athletes. The men's tennis team will be at Erie this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the Atlantic Regional Championships, just like the women were this past weekend. And women's volleyball will also be in Erie at Mercyhurst for the PSAC East-West crossover. The ladies will have 4 matches. Millersville, Shippensburg, UPJ, and Lockhaven are the quartet of Eastern Conference foes that they will be facing. And also football has the Vulcans at Sox Harrison Stadium on Saturday at noon kickoff, which is on ETV and WFSC. So go out and support Edinboro's student athletes this weekend. And that's going to do it all for this week. Thanks for watching, and go Boro.